Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to be breaking down all the info I think beginners in this game need to know in order to hit the ground running and have a good understanding of what they should be doing and expecting from the First Descendant. But let me start the video by saying right off the bat, hey, do not feel like you need to rush anything in this game. I know a lot of people are telling you that you don't need to focus on anything except getting to hard mode, and that's when the game really starts to open up, and they talk about pure optimization or end game builds. Hey, don't worry about any of that right now. It might very well take you anywhere between 30 and 50 hours game time before you reach hard mode, depending on your pacing. At the end of the day, remember that this is a video game, it's not a job, and you are not only allowed to enjoy your first 30 plus hours of this video game, you're encouraged to. So feel free to ignore all the endgame grind for now and just enjoy the ride. But let's dive into our full list of things that you should know in no particular order, and I'll be sure to timestamp the topics, so if there's something you want to skip to or revisit later, then you can easily find it on the search bar below. First things first, the First Descendant is a looter and heavily focused on grinding to obtain all kinds of gear. At first, the gear system can be overwhelming. There are weapons, there are mods for those weapons, there are reactors, there's other gear to wear, and then you can enhance modules, combine them, break them down. I know, it's a lot. So let's give you a basic breakdown of the gear first, and we'll start with the weapons. There are lots of weapons in this game with varying types of ammo required for them. You'll want to diversify your 3 equipped weapons so they don't all share the same ammo or serve the same purpose. Get some single target damage weapons, get some crowd control weapons, get some big damage dealers primed and ready to go. You'll also hear and see words like crush, pierce, and burst. Now these refer to the damage types of weapons in the game. So some enemies and colossi will be weak to one of these types. So check your weapons before you go into the fight to make sure that you've got something that does that damage type equipped. You can see what damage type a weapon does by inspecting it and scrolling down to the 7th row, or by memorizing the symbol that corresponds to each type and then just seeing it on the weapon at a glance. Just note that this is like a rock, paper, scissors game, right? Pierce is strong against enemies that do crush damage. Crush is strong against enemies that do burst damage, and burst is strong against pierce. Make sure you look at the weapons that drop for you and pick all of them up. 2 drops of the same weapon will not be the same, right? One might be higher level than the other, and the perks on the weapon are randomly rolled, so one might be more effective against colossi, while the other might deal an elemental attack damage type. So make sure that you mark as junk everything you aren't keeping so you can break them down into materials. I don't recommend that you sell them. You're not going to have a problem with gold. You're going to have millions and millions of gold pretty quickly in the game. What you need is materials, because once you break those down, those materials can then be used to research currency to raise the level of your favorite weapons, so you can continue to bring them along with you as you progress through the game without them getting left behind at a lower level. You can use the workbench next to the weapons dealer in Albion to raise the level of your preferred weapons. The currency is cheap and fast to research, so don't worry about doing it every 5 to 10 levels. On the topic of research, I recommend that you always have something going, whether it's upgrade materials or weapons or descendant components. You're going to want a surplus of these things later in the game, so you may as well start stockpiling them early on. Back to the topic of gear. You also have a reactor slot and 4 external components. Make sure that your reactor is the correct elemental affinity for your character. So if you're Ajax, you want a non-elemental reactor. If you're Freyna, you want a toxic affinity. If you're Blair, you want a fire one. You get the idea. For your external components, make sure that you're checking the perks that they randomly roll with. The most important things here are HP, defense, and skill-related stats. I would not worry about getting, there are certain like sets, like 4-piece sets for external components. I wouldn't worry about those right now. That's more like an endgame thing. Just mix and match whatever gives you the best stat bonuses in the meantime. So like I said, HP, defense, skill-related stats. So for example, I like this HP support sensor because it increases my HP while helping me regenerate MP and HP faster in combat. Shields in general are not nearly as valuable as HP and defense. You can enhance your reactor up to 2 times if you like, but it also requires a currency to be researched just like your weapons did. Now let's move on to modules. This system may seem overwhelming at first, but I highly encourage you to familiarize yourself with the system early because modules are probably the biggest variables in your build that will dramatically increase your overall power output. You have modules for your weapons and modules for your Descendant. For your Descendant, you'll get more slots for more modules as you increase your mastery rank, but you'll also get a lot more simply by leveling up your melee slot mod. It's free to equip, like Shock Punch, but every time you level it up, you'll gain more capacity. So definitely prioritize getting that thing leveled up ASAP. You'll want to make sure that you have the blue HP and defense mods on first, level those up, and then build on top of that. With Freyna, I go for extra range on my abilities to cover a wider area of effect, as well as increase the damage output of all toxic damage that I do. For your weapons, definitely use the blue mods for general attack damage and crit damage, but then build on top of that. So it depends on what you're using the weapon for. So you may want to have a build for taking down Colossi that goes hard into weak spot damage and crit damage. But enhancing your modules can get expensive, so here's what you're going to want to do. There are kuiper shard farming options out there, but one easy thing to do is actually to dismantle your mods that are duplicates. So you can do this by going to the module vendor and then selecting dismantle mods and then sort by quantity. Now you'll see all the mods you have repeats of, so just flag all of the repeats for dismantling. And just by dismantling duplicates, you can get tens of thousands of kuiper shards immediately to just reinvest back into the mods that you're actually using. But let's say you want to make a build, but you don't have the proper mods for it. If you hit the map button, it's M on PC or G, and you pull up the map menu, you'll actually see a tab called Access Info. This is a goldmine of information. You can see any and all mods and weapons and more, and the game will tell you exactly where you need to go to get that thing that you're after. If you want more HP options, just search HP and look through the list for something that suits your needs, and then look at where it comes from, and then go get it. That is really the core of this game, honestly. Look up gear you want, find out where it comes from, and then go grind that thing until you get it. Next, let's talk microtransactions. At the end of the day, it's your money and it's your time, but so far I have not found a single reason to invest money in this game outside of cool skins that you like. You don't need to buy Descendants. You don't need to buy research time shortcuts. Everything can be unlocked organically, and frankly, I've really enjoyed the gaming sessions where I'm going around and farming all the different encounters that I need to farm to get the materials that I need to unlock a Descendant that looks appealing to me. The grind is kind of the point of games like this anyway. It's a looter. So I don't really want to shortcut those things anyways. Besides, you may find yourself wasting money on a Descendant that you can't fully leverage yet anyway because you don't have access yet to the gear in the game that really takes them to the next level. So I don't think you need to throw money at the screen for shortcuts, but if you like seeing your Descendant in a schoolgirl uniform and you want to spend money on that, who am I to judge you? But let's say you do unlock a new Descendant and you want to level them up quickly. Just know that your damage output is mostly connected to your weapons and the mods on them. So you can take your level 30 or level 60 weapons and put them on your level 1 Descendant and then just go into a horde mode mission and start shooting people, and you'll see your levels shoot up quickly. These horde mode missions are the most accessible, fast leveling options for players, not just to level up your Descendants, but also to level up your weapon masteries as well. So maybe you finally got a good tamer to drop and you want to level up your mastery on the gun. Equip it on a low-level Descendant and go into a horde mode to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. These horde mode missions are marked by these bright blue markers on your maps. The most accessible ones are this one in Kingston, this one in the Sterile Lands, and this one in the Swamp. The enemy density is very, very high, so you can shoot and kill lots and lots of things in a short amount of time and gain a ton of XP doing it. So definitely take full advantage of that. You won't get any kuiper shards from these horde missions. You won't get any new weapons to drop, but you'll definitely get XP galore gold, and some amorphous material maybe. Which reminds me, you can check every single activity before you launch it to see what rewards can drop and what their drop rates are, so you know going into every activity exactly what's possible for you to obtain. The last thing I want to hit in this beginner's video is difficulty and scaling. As you progress, you'll hit hard gear check walls, where the game will basically tell you that you need to go get stronger before you can progress past this point. This is often in the form of a void intercept battle against a colossus of some kind. A few things to note here. My last video was all about the topic of how do I get stronger when I get stuck, so that video might serve you well. But also worth noting is that enemies scale in difficulty according to the number of players. So you may want to try to take down a colossus with just 2 or 3 of you total before you try full matchmaking. But otherwise, I find that public matchmaking is hit or miss, but it does tend to hit just as much as it misses. So you might get a terrible team that's underleveled, only to just after that get a team with a couple amazingly well kitted out players who came in with a plan and a build to slay out. But you can also visit the forums and ask for help, because people in this community seem eager to flex their builds anyway, and they are happy to hop into your session and kill a colossus in under a minute and then emote and leave the game. So don't feel shy about asking for help either. And that's basically going to do it for the video. I hope you found this information helpful and insightful. If you enjoyed it, then please consider leaving a like on the video, as that's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube, and consider subscribing for additional First Descendant content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you out there in the void. Bye-bye.